They gave me some drugs, so hopefully this will help.
Mm-hmm.
Doxy something and
doxycycline.
Yeah, they didn't put me on prednisone. They just put me on that. It's my little right leg mainly, so I'm like so done. I've had it for 2 weeks now, so.
Thank you, Hartley. Okay, 6:59.
Everyone connected? What about Jody?
Everyone is connected. No, Jody just bounced out. But that's okay. We have 1 minute. Okay, so just so everyone knows before we get started, we are live right now on Channel 9. And I am recording in the cloud as well, just in case. So we're trying to make sure that we get everything all set up. So I have 7 o'clock, so I'm going to call this meeting to order. Today is Thursday, August 13th. 2020, and I would like to call to order this Townsend Housing Authority meeting. Could I have a roll call, please?
Natalie Call, present.
Courtney Burley.
Laura Schifrin.
And Chas Sexton Duranian. The meeting is going to be recorded, and we're recording it here. And we're also recording it for the public access television station. I also would like to basically state that we are following the guidelines for open meeting in regards to the COVID-19 process, where this is videotaped, and we're following all the protocol that has been established by the Massachusetts legislature. Could we please have the Pledge of Allegiance, please? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Sorry.
And I would like to thank all our police officers, first responders, and our veterans, along with those who served in the military. I thank you very much for your service. 1.5 Chairman's additions, deletions to agenda unforeseen prior to 48 hours of this meeting. At this time, I do not. Does anybody else have anything?
Yeah, can we just add website to the work session?
Sure. 3.7?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I didn't get any attachments, so maybe Jody can tell us if there were any minutes from the last meeting, but it's on the agenda. We can reach it then.
Okay. So 1.6, reorganization of the Townsend Housing Authority Board and the vacant tenant position. Lori.
Okay. So, Jazz, do you want to just give your decision first?
Well, I have been the chairman and state representative for a period of time. I did take that over on a somewhat temporary basis for one of the board members. And at this time, I have several different obligations that I have been holding off. One of them was to be able to be on a board of directors to a very good organization that I wanted to help out for several years now. So what I would like to do is to step down from the chair for the Housing Authority, and I would more than likely I want to stay on as state representative, but I do not have the time for the extemporaneous duties that a chair would have as far as agendas and all of that kind of stuff. So if it pleases the board, I would like to step down as chair, and I would like to entertain a motion to nominate somebody for the chair position at this time. That would be.
I make a motion for Courtney to take the position of chairperson of the Townsend Housing Authority, if she accepts.
Okay.
You accept, Courtney?
I guess my concern is that having only been here for, not really even a year, my concern is understanding what that position, really entails and making sure that I do that properly. Mm-hmm. So I would say there may need to be some guidance on that. So.
Okay.
Okay. So just maybe it'll make more sense. I had a situation for 2 years with my son. So Chaz was kind enough to take over the chairmanship during that time. And it was a lot of work for him, as well as the state representative work. So as vice chair, I don't have a problem at this time, and I did state this to Chaz, that I could step back in and do the chairmanship responsibilities. But I think bringing up Courtney is a great idea. And Courtney, if you would so desire, I'd love to have you as the vice chair, and we could work together and work on having you step into the chairmanship in maybe next year. I think my term ends in 21, so depending on what happens, I'd be rerunning or somebody else would be. But by then, hopefully you're up and going. And you've got Jody too.
And you still have me. I'll be here,
I mean, I think that makes sense in terms of a little bit of a stepping stone to get to there. That would make me feel a lot better about that.
Yeah.
Okay.
So as point of protocol, do we, Natalie, do you want to take back your motion?
I take back the motion, and Lori accepting to step back into the chairperson position. And Courtney would become the vice chairperson. Okay. That's my motion right now. I want to redo the motion if we can do it properly that way.
Okay.
If they both agree.
Okay. And I would need a second.
Second.
Okay. Motion's
Say
made
no.
and seconded. Any discussion? Lori, would you accept this motion if it was voted on?
Yes, I will.
And Courtney, you would accept the position if it was voted on?
Yes, I will.
Okay. So then we need to do any votes that we do because of the COVID-19 protocol. It has to be a roll call vote.
Okay.
So Natalie?
I say yes. I vote yes for both positions for them.
Okay.
Is that how I'd say it? Okay.
Courtney?
Courtney Bradley, yes.
And Lori?
Yes.
Chad Sexton Duranian, yes. So it is unanimous.
Okay. So it passes.
And at this time, Lori, I'm going to pass the torch over to you.
That was the part that really needed to be reorganized. And so, Natalie, you would still be the clerk.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you.
Then I was going to report on the tenant position. So I looked into Turnpike Village
Okay.
and spoke to Heidi Lorden there and got solidified that there's 48 units there. And all those 48 units do count, and I really meant to look at one of our annual reports, count towards our affordable housing percentage of inventory for the town. So I checked back with Chaz because I wanted to make sure that the state, by that position being a state mandated position, that it could be anyone who's in any of the units. So that would mean Townsend Woods, Atwood Acres, or Turnpike Village, because that's all that we have in town. That would be renters, because this is a rental position. We have one other, we have a habit, but that is ownership. So that person there, even if they were interested, would not be able to use the tenancy. So her daughter called me back, and it seemed that she just spoke to a few people of the affordable rental units. And I haven't had a chance yet to call her back and tell her it could be anyone who lives there in any of the units, because they're all considered affordable. So that's where we are on that. I like to feel that I'm a little closer, but that's on my list of things to do, to work on getting in contact with someone there who might be interested in serving on this board.
Okay.
That's that report. And that's it under the report part. Back to you. Yes.
So as far as the state representative report, I wanted to fill you guys in on a couple of things that we have been working on as a town on planning on the planning board, to fill you guys in on some of the progress that we've been making, and also some of some of the things that are happening with the state. Number one is on Monday, I presented to the Townsend Planning Board. We on the planning board, the DLTA, or it's a District Local Technical Assistance Grant, was given to the planning board to look into Townsend's age-restricted market rate housing zoning bylaw. This is something that I presented. We talked about it in the housing forum, which I'll talk about. I have a quick presentation just to show you guys what we've been working on, which will dovetail into conversations that we're going to be having later on in the meeting. We had a kickoff meeting at the planning board with MRPC, and basically to talk about what the planning process is that a master plan is written for the town. We then have a forum on housing. The Housing Authority had that in October. A housing production plan is then written using the housing chapter for the Townsend Master Plan. And then we submit that to the state, to two organizations within the state, to make sure that we're following the guidelines that are outlined for a housing production plan. And then that in turn goes back to the planning board to allow us to make bylaw changes. Unfortunately, we still do not have a master plan right now that has been submitted. We had entered into a grant last year with the Master Plan Committee, we meaning the planning board, I'm sorry, the Housing Authority, to get work on the housing production plan as well. So I gathered data from that. And in that data, we were able to come to several different decisions along with some of the citizen suggestions. This first slide is really the population projections by age cohort for the town of Townsend. It starts out at 2000, 2010. But if we look, the main thing that we need to look at is this solid purple or the light purple line. The light purple line is ages 35 to 64. And this is the age range that we're looking at as far as the 55 and older housing, or the potential for 55 and older housing. As you can see in 2020, this light purple line is dropping. However, on the right of that, the darker purple line is ages 65 and over, and that is rising. We get to a projected of 2030, you can see that this light purple line is also dropping, and the dark purple line is rising, which means that the populations between anywhere from age 50 to over 65 is going to be one of the highest populace in Townsend, which basically states that the age of resident, the average resident in Townsend is aging. It is increasing, and at this point, we have recognized that we need housing for this population, among other populations. The current age-restricted housing that we already have in town is Atwood Acres and Townsend Woods. Townsend Woods is a senior housing, and that is all affordable in there. Atwood Acres it's actually a lot of it is age in place, and there's no real age restriction in that. There are other requirements to meet to get a unit at Atwood Acres. So in the housing public forum that we held in October, the main focus on what we're talking about tonight would be on question 3 and 4, which would be, would you be open to zoning changes that would promote more housing options within the community? With that, the two main things that came out of that, number one is accessory apartments, with or without relative restriction, meaning having, if you had a relative that, it would be, you'd be able to have an accessory apartment. If you did not have a relative for that, the apartment would have to be affordable housing. It could not be just rented out as regular. The planning board then took that, and last year they had passed the accessory apartment bylaw, which has created the accessory apartments for relatives, and they also have strengthened the affordable housing apartments for an accessory apartment. The second main portion of, or the main amount of information we did gain from that is 55 and older developments. And this then is why the planning board then went to get the grant for the 55 and older development. Along with these other two-family homes, multifamily homes, these are all possibilities, but we wanted to try to knock everything off from the most requested, down the line there. So the Townsend Planning Board then took this information from what the Housing Authority gave them, and they assessed a need, what would be the need of the town, which went into population. It also went into, they looked at the real estate, what was available, what is not available in the town. We researched 21 equivalent towns to Townsend. The cohorts that we looked at would be the cost of homes, the average, the median income. We took all of these factors and looked at all of the communities, the 400 plus communities that are in Massachusetts, and came up with 21 equivalent towns that had a 55 and older bylaw. We studied all the bylaws, and we applied for this grant knowing that we do have all the information here. We just need somebody to help us pour over the information to make sense of it all. And then we entered into an agreement with MRPC for them to write a bylaw. So by the middle to, well, actually before Christmas time, we will have a written bylaw that will then ask for a warrant article to be put on the spring town meeting to have the townspeople vote on it. In that, there will be a public hearing, so that we'll be able to gather more information from our townspeople. So we are working very closely with John Hume, who is the Planning and Development Director of MRPC, Montechusett Regional Planning Commission. And again, that is for the District Local Technical Assistance Grant that we received. That was a long-winded response to that one. Sorry about that. But that's one thing that we are working on with the housing for town. The second thing that we are working on is we did also get a grant to work on 43D. I don't know if any board member understands what a 43D is. The nitty gritty on it really is it's an opportunity to review all properties within your town to be able to see what areas would be able to to accommodate a structure that was built with 43D. 43D has a very large footprint on it, so they would be looking at maybe old factories. They're looking at old buildings, could be old school buildings, could be even land that you want to build on it. So this grant really is identifying and looking at particular areas within your town to be able, that would accommodate a 43D. It's not we're not looking to build anything. We're just looking at what areas in our footprint are we able to build. Having said that, the reason why the planning board is looking for that is that that may help us in the housing authority further on down the road in regards to what we have coming up in our work session as far as our Dudley Road property is concerned. That's something that we need to consider, which personally I think that would dovetail really well with a lot of the efforts that we've already put forward. I believe forward motion is where we need to focus on. And the last thing that I wanted to let you guys know is that a lot of the meetings have been virtual that I've gone to. There hasn't really been a lot of movement. I have connected with 3 different members, one from CHAPA and 2 from DHCD, the Department of Housing and Urban Development. And they have been helping me out with ways in which we can fund a trust fund within the town. There are several different options available to them. The thing that I'm finding out, I guess this is just preliminary, so it's nothing really that I can hang my hat on. But the idea is that once we start funding it, and there is some funds within the Affordable Housing Fund, Trust Fund, there are other options that we can get state funding for to be able to fund that as well. But we have to do due diligence and best effort to start funding this on our own before they would jump in and help us, if that makes sense. And that's all I got, Lori.
I think that if I could just add to that, when you said that it was a really large structure, to just let them know that it was a minimum of 50,000 square feet.
Right, right.
In our discussions the other night in planning, in thinking about what the sizes of Townsend Woods and Atwood Acres, we're looking about that size in the buildings, because we've got 50 units in one and 36 in the other. However, the buildings are about the same square foot.
Right.
They're laid out a bit different.
Correct. And really, if it's going to be a 43D, what it is, it's an the permitting process is expedited. So you would be, it's almost like a 40B, but it's not a 40B. It doesn't waive any particular, zoning or anything like that. But what it does is that you get one comprehensive permit. You apply for it. It's looked over in one agency, so they don't have to go to zoning and planning and all of these other things. If they have the everything set up the way the 43D is set up, then it's just one expedited permitting process.
Through planning? Planning board.
I think it would be the planning board because we're the ones that are going to have to agree to it. So what I could do, Lori, if you want, at some point, once we get more information from MRPC, I'll be more than glad to do a presentation on what's a 43D and what it encompasses. I don't have a problem with that.
Okay. All right. That'll be super. Okay. So next is 1.8 and still want to put out there that we're looking for help for Hartley and a videographer. So if anybody's listening and they'd be interested, there's still a position for you. And then next, number 2, appointments. We didn't have any for tonight, but I had on there to discuss future appointments and with whom. And I did get a response back. We did invite Sheila Harrington and Paul Textera, who we've worked with before at the Housing Authority. And he was not able to make tonight's meeting, but he has investigated some information and documents for us, and he'd like to come and see us at our next meeting. So if the board pleases, I will offer him an appointment at our next meeting.
Okay. I can add to that too. I had a conversation with Sheila in regards to several different matters. She is still very much engaged and had extended that anything that we would need her assistance on to let her know. I also know that she is at a function today in Ashby tonight, and she said that if she could get home in time, that she would definitely jump on. But she's got all the information.
Okay. So, well, I just heard back from her.
Did you?
Not looking good. I'm at the meeting in Ashby. Can you send me the phone number? And I don't recall a phone number. Phone number for the Zoom meeting, and I can try to call in when I get out.
Yeah, there is one somewhere.
I don't see one.
And I see Jody. I got to get Jody back in. She's joining. Hang on one second.
There's Jody. Here she comes.
Yeah, wait till it pops in.
Get her that, I think she'd probably call in, but
Yep, we can get her a number. Hang on one second, because I can ask Jody to do that. Hi, Jody. Could you do me a favor and look on the email that was sent out that has the telephone numbers, and just put the telephone number to this meeting in the chat room, and then I can give that to Sheila to call in. If you could do that for me. Please and thank you. When I get that, I'll let you know, Lori.
okay. But okay. All right. So 3 on our agenda is work session, and 3.1 is the housing production plan discussion, and that is in reference to the master plan. Chaz, did you have any comments?
I do.
I mean, I could, but I'll let you.
Okay.
Let us know where we were and where we're going and what we're hoping is going to happen, hopefully within the next week or so that we know where we stand.
Okay. And if I pause, it's just that I'm looking at the board and letting people in. So if I'm looking like I'm a deer in the headlights, I'm actually doing something else. there are some difficulties with being able to get some information with the master plan. And in that master plan, like I had said earlier, there is a housing chapter. I have raw data to go into the housing chapter, but I have not had the ability to talk with or sit down with the master plan committee to see if it has been written, if they need help with that. I mean, all this information was sent over to them when MRPC gave it to them, I want to say in July of 2019. I was sent a PowerPoint presentation from, at the time, our land use coordinator. So I don't know what was presented. I don't know what meeting it went to. But quite simply is that without that housing chapter, that raw data really is kind of just that, raw data, you know, and we're not really able to do much with that. My thoughts, Madam Chair, if it's something that we can look into, I would like to see if we would be able to approach a place like MRPC to find out, would they be able to help us write or actually have a housing plan written, so that we can then at least submit the housing plan in the year that we're supposed to in 2020. We do have a budget. We have somewhat of a budget, but my thought is if we could, maybe it's not going to be a large amount to my knowledge. And what's the, if we sent something, if there's a dollar amount that's larger and we have to go to town vote, is it 5,000 or more?
I think so, but I can't say for sure.
Yeah, because I'm thinking it's going to be 1,500 to 2,000 is a rough guess of mine. Because we have all the information, we just need somebody to help us put it all together.
Right.
And they have all the information that they had given to us. So I'm wondering if we can maybe ask MRPC, would we be able to have that written? And what the cost on that would be, and then if it was under the whatever the limit is, to ask for the town to maybe go in front of the Board of Selectmen to see if we could at least get that. My concern is this: we don't have a land use coordinator. We don't have the resources that we had with COVID-19. We're kind of behind the 8 ball in regards to that. The reason why I want to move forward on this is that we don't have a master plan, but I would like to get this housing production plan. We have all the data, we have the information, you know, and I guess that's all I want to throw out there.
Okay, and just so that you know, I did end up sending the number and the password to Sheila.
Okay.
And Jody's camera and microphone are not working.
Okay.
Yeah, I will find out about that. Okay, I will send a message over to the executive officer at MRPC and if something can't be worked out, because I agree. Plus, they also, I wanted to interject and say that they also have templates for master plans. So, you know, between the data that we have, the information that they have already from the forum that we did, and this new other information that you have with the cohorts and stuff.
And we have the last time, correct, that you kind of had edited. So we have a good chunk of it here that just needs to be edited, right?
Yeah. When I first started with the Housing Authority, Karen Chapman was the land use coordinator, and I had gone in one afternoon with her, and I sat down, and it was 2 hours, I think it was, and we plugged all the information into what it was, and then she spent more time on it, of course, because she was more familiar with it. But you know, that's really the crux of it. The things that MRPC would be able to add to that, Courtney, would be the presumptive, the projections on what they're seeing based upon the information there. We can give that information, but it would only be supposition on our part, which they would be able to have much more evidence behind what they're saying.
So, well, we'll just see what we can get out of them.
So, well, I would also want to add to, Lori, just so you know, I know that the last Board of Selectmen meeting, they picked who the liaisons are, and Veronica is our liaison. Veronica is also the liaison for, well, she's our liaison. She took over all of the duties that Sue had.
Okay. Okay. So does that mean she's going to leave? Oh, no. Will she still be on planning? Oh, so she'll probably liaison that, because why would they send somebody else to do it?
Yeah.
So, okay, well, that works.
Yeah. So I did tell her we were having a meeting tonight, and I know that there's a lot of things that she's doing. But I think talking with her, we might be able to get some sort of direction with that.
Okay. Feasibility study on Dudley Road is still on and probably will stay on the agenda. So do you want to speak to that as well?
Okay, the feasibility study Dudley Road. I'm not really sure what went out, what letters went out, if we had any responses. I have gotten no information in regards to that. So I would like to be able to maybe somebody should if we can talk with Jody and see if we can get some information from the previous land use coordinator on what was sent out.
I believe I have a list from Jody, and I'll have to look back and find it, about what was sent to where. And I believe we didn't get really any responses at all, or responses from institutions like colleges that didn't want to compete with the private sector.
Yeah.
And then I reached out to some others, and I have to go back to my notes here. And what we had gotten, and I believe you remember, was a basically a question of a really high price.
Yeah.
So I think we, from what I remember, we were a little surprised by their original kind of price that they had given us. So I actually got a response from RKG Associates that felt like our original schedule wasn't feasible, and that they had done another similar study to what we were asking for $100,000. Mm-hmm. And I believe that's where we had left off, that we don't have that. Yeah, correct. I knew that. And I believe this was our kind of response last time, was a bit shocked to find a price for that, and with so many people not responding to us at all.
Did we go back to MRPC? Because the reason why we asked for that amount of money is because of the original amount that we got from MRPC.
Right.
I believe we discussed going back to them to see if they could actually physically do it, and I don't know what happened from there, I would say.
They can't. Okay. That we did get an answer.
Okay.
I did get an answer anyway from Glenn that they don't have the staff anymore to do that. So the quote that we were given the year before was no longer good, because they were not going to be able to provide the service. And but then I thought we also had a conversation about we know that there's a housing need. Mm-hmm. We know that if we build a 50-unit building, it's going to be rented out. So I guess I don't understand the feasibility study or need of it when you know there's a need.
I think we just got on the hamster wheel again.
Yep. Yeah.
Checking. I know. So, and who do we get that answer from? Or do we just forge ahead?
My next thought on this would be a feasibility study or a consultant. What would be the difference if we had a consultant to be able to look at what we want to do or what we're looking at doing, to be able to give us an idea of where we can go.
I can ask, well, if I could ask Sheila, or if you could ask someone at the state.
Okay.
Where would we go? What would we be allowed to do with the information that we already have?
Uh-huh.
So the 43D that you were talking about is going to review our property to see what size of building we can put on, essentially.
Yep.
So it seems like that's kind of, a piece of the feasibility study to me, right? Like it's a piece of that, is also telling us what we can do there.
Yep.
And I don't know how that works with our timeline, but it seems to be like, maybe we can get some of the pieces, because I believe some of the other stuff and I need to find our feasibility, our questions, but I believe some of it had to do with, septic and other things, correct?
Yep.
We could physically fit on that piece of property. But maybe there is an opportunity if we find someone who's interested in, like we've talked about before, about, physically building on the property, maybe a piece of their work can be the feasibility study. It's going to be kind of hard to find that right person, I guess, they're going to want some type of commitment, I guess, from us to move forward with to really tell us what they can put on there, I guess, and put in that work. But
right.
Well, that's been into before on all the places that we did interview before, they wanted to take the lead.
Yeah.
They wanted a contract. And then the one that we were really excited about when push came to shove and I asked the questions about, would we be losing control and you have all the control, which is what we've run it into before. I didn't get an answer. I didn't get a call back, and so that was disheartening after, all the interviews that we did and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
So, but while you were saying pieces, we know that part of the study would have to be perk tests and would have to be preparation for a septic system.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And so we're looking at how much of the land is usable and not near any water and not near any conservation. Or we've got 11 acres, but do we really know what all of it is made up and where can we build on that 11 acres? Mm-hmm. So a piece of it would be getting an engineer and we were fortunate last time that Kevin Smith worked with the Board of Health and basically donated his equipment and his time to dig those holes. And then I think it was Ross Engineering. He worked in conjunction with them and at the time George Sullivan to do the actual plans. So
in this 43D part of it, we can ask them to take a look at this parcel of land to see if that would accommodate something in the 43D, like you were saying, Courtney. That was kind of my thought when I first was looking into the 43D grant.
Yeah.
If we did, sorry to cut you off, Lori. If we did, then part of that feasibility study would be built into, whether or not they wanted to, the land would support a building of that size.
Right. So maybe by biting off pieces like that, with what we have left for the money that we do have available to do the feasibility, we can, selectively choose the pieces that we would need a consultant or an engineer or, those pieces for. So,
right.
We have to aggregate our own feasibility study, but
yeah.
Well, if we had I'm choosing my words very carefully here.
So let me just ask you before you do that. The 43D grant, I got the impression from John, we would have a really good shot at John Young at at getting that?
Yes.
Are we,
No, we have the grant.
we have the grant.
We have the grant, but the grant is only for them to look at town property to see what can support that. That's
Right.
all the grant is for.
Right. We got it.
So what I'm saying is that if they look at this parcel and see if it can support a 50,000 square foot building, that's part of our feasibility study.
Right.
All right. But it's what I'm trying to be delicate about is that we have the master plan has a housing chapter that should have all the other information that we would need that would support a feasibility study for age cohort, for financial cohort, for taxes, for public safety, for all of this kind of stuff. All of the things that we would look at. The only thing that the housing production or the housing chapter of the master plan would not support is public safety, the fire, the police, and all of that kind of stuff, which is also another section of a feasibility study to say, can the town, was it under its current condition, be able to support this?
So I did dig out the actual what we put together for the feasibility, and that is one of the pieces on here. The other, I can run through these if you guys want a little refresher on what these are, but it's a fairly long list. But land value and analysis, development scenarios, what is the market, what will the impact be to the environment?
Yep.
What will the financial impacts be to the community? How will this affect police and fire? What will the impact be to sewer in Title V? What is the greater community index? What are the financial considerations? Is a mix of incomes necessary for approval? Is there a population base and where will they be drawn from? Proximity to public transportation. And it says in here, this is something we need to work on. Assess need for housing in Townsend and the surrounding area using census data and wait lists. Identify the current constraints of the land for developing housing units. Identify legal issues that could or may arise. Provide conceptual drawings integrating housing and nearby buildings and public services. Propose design options. Prepare a series of next steps for completing an RFP to engage appropriate entity to develop the site. Prepare a draft feasibility study to the town officials for input and public review. Prepare a final feasibility study for the town. So I guess in reviewing these again, some of the things like the proposed design options, conceptual drawings, things like that, those could possibly be pushed, into another later phase, I guess, if we get a lot of these other information answered.
Yep.
So, like I said, maybe there's an opportunity between the few things we have going on to answer some of these questions and try to reduce the scope of the feasibility study to get it to a point where
that's exactly what I'm saying. I think that we can do that. I know it's difficult for me to throw this out with your being an architect and everything, but some of those conceptuals and all of that kind of stuff can be kind of put off till later, I think. I think if we can kind of get the basics, like if we are asking this looking to see if a 43D can actually be supported in this parcel of land, will answer a lot of questions for us.
Yeah.
Because they will have to look at possible septic issues and all of that kind of stuff, right? So we wouldn't then have to do that. The environmental impact would concern me because I would want to be able to do that separately, and in that respect, we might be able to talk with the, who we need to talk to with the state. And maybe there's some kind of, because we're doing this part and parcel, they might be able to help us out with that as well. Just a thought for you guys to kind of mull over. But the reason why I had made comment in regards to a consultant is because there needs to be some sort of there has to be a guiding factor here. How we if we're going to parse everything out into smaller pieces, do we need somebody that's going to be able to know what our big project is and be able to help us tie it all in together?
Probably. Seems like that's a good idea, to have somebody to like I said, to aggregate.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. So I'm just kind of throwing out there my thoughts on where we're at. I can definitely do the research on the state, what they have to offer. I also feel that that there is other support that we need to garner, and I don't know where we get it from. In talking with other towns that have done the same thing that we have done, there has been leadership within the town itself has provided some direction, but we haven't been able to get any direction from our leadership here in town. And I mean, no disrespect for anybody. I'm just saying that, that's something that has been unfortunate for us for the past 5.5 years since I've been on here. That we need to find some kind of support. If we can't find it within the organization, then we look outside the organization. At least that's what my business acumen says. So that's why I'm kind of eyeing for an outside consultant or somebody that's going to be able to help us. I feel like I was a lawyer giving a speech there.
Well, we kind of went into the DLTA grant as well, right?
Mm-hmm.
So all that's kind of tied in right now. Do you want to give us a status on the trust fund?
The status on the trust fund, how we left it before the COVID situation was that we have had approval from the town, and we're just looking to find out. We just basically need to ask Adam to draw it up. I mean, we got approval that we can do it. And I would assume that because he's part of the town, we would just ask him to draw it up. I don't know if there's a time frame from when it's drawn up and legalized as to when we're going to actually fund it. So I don't want to say, yes, we're going to do it and ask him to draw it up. And if we don't know how we're going to fund it, I don't know if there's a time involved or whatever. But I would need to have, or Lori, if you would need to get permission from the board to go to him and talk with him about it.
Okay, I'm just, I think I did, but I guess I didn't. Oh, Jody is out of the meeting. Okay. I just tried to send her a text message. She must have gotten out again.
Jody? Is that what you said, Jody?
She's not there.
Yeah, she's having problems with her computer. She says, I'm here and very excited to continue working with you guys.
Okay. Well, I tried to text. I'll email her later then. And
she's going to pop back in a second here.
Okay.
There she is.
There's Jody.
You can see her.
Jody.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yay!
Hey.
Jody.
Can you make a note to check with Adam on the trust fund and where we are? And my comment was going to be the trust fund can also get donations.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I would certainly make a donation once it was set up. And I think that once it's set up, we just get some donations and then we look for the bigger funding later.
Yep.
So I don't think that I'm saying that to answer your timetable.
Right.
I'm thinking let's get it set up.
Yeah.
And get it going, and we'll put it out there that there is a trust fund for affordable housing, and see what happens from there.
All right. So since I'm just the state rep, I make a motion to have Lori talk to town council to set up the trust fund.
I second.
Any further discussion? Motion. Hearing none. All those in favor, would you please say your name and vote.
Natalie Call, yes.
Courtney Borelli, yes.
Chad Sexton Duranian, yes.
Laura Schifrin, yes. So since we already have the vote, we might as well have the trust fund, and then we can start talking about getting donations at every meeting.
Okay.
Now, since we're doing that, I'll throw this out there too. One of the people that I have been talking to with state from DHCD, Department of Housing and Community Development,
Yes.
she said that once we do have that set up, and there is funds there, so we can just fund it a little bit at a time, I then can set up for a meeting to have them come join us for an evening, and they will now talk to us about what we have that's available to us now that we have the trust fund set up.
Okay. All right.
10,000 back. But, oh, I didn't say anything. So I had a thought along those lines, and now it has escaped me. But Jody, do you have any correspondence for us? Was there any?
There was just budget stuff, which I can email you if you want to take a look at it. I can email it. It's just they did the 1/12 budget until they did the town meeting. I didn't grab it and take it home, but like I said, I can scan that and send that if you would like to see it.
Okay. Did your email address change, Jody?
Yes, everybody's in town changed to same J. DeShane's at townsendma.gov.
Okay.
Everything should get forwarded, but we'll see.
It's it's gov instead of US, right?
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
The ones you just sent out like today has it, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Good.
And then we didn't have minutes to review, right?
I sent it out at the very last second. I sent them to you when we started talking about it. But yeah, I just sent them out right now. You guys should probably have it in your email now, but probably not enough time to review and vote.
Okay. So everybody knows that, and we'll just put it on the next agenda.
Okay.
Okay. And then we added a little discussion about the website. So I was on the website, and Chaz, I know that you're like the website maven for us. But from now on, how, Jody, do you put the documents on the website?
I can.
Okay, so if you could just update it to, I saw that the last agenda was December. I know we haven't had a lot of meetings, but I can't remember the last meeting that we had, but you have minutes for it. So I think that agenda needs to go up, and then it would be the same for approved minutes, for the future. And, oh God, I didn't make a note for myself while I was looking at the website, but there was something else. Why doesn't everybody look at the website after the meeting? And then if you see anything that needs updating, if you could just get that to Jody, and then Jody and I can discuss it.
Okay.
Okay?
And then you can change the membership too, putting Lori as chair and
Courtney,
that stuff. Yeah.
he's vice chair.
As vice chair, and
I think all the years are correct now, Chaz?
It should be.
Okay.
yeah.
And hopefully we'll have we'll get a tenant to participate, hopefully by our next meeting. I will, just trying to think, today's the 13th, and do we want to stick with Thursdays? Is that still the best day?
That's good for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I got Monday, got planning board, and Wednesdays I have other things. So the 17th.
Okay.
I get it the 17th.
Okay.
No. Well, yeah, I probably could. I won't be here, but we'll probably Zoom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I will do it from wherever I am.
Now, Jody, do we have a is there a town Zoom account?
Well, there is supposed to be. I haven't gotten any information, but I can ask again and see what's become of that. Oh, and the only other thing I did want to mention, not the same, along the same lines, but I did ask the accountant to carry over the article money for the feasibility. So I sent in that memo when she requested it.
Yeah.
So just so you know, that article is still there, that money's still there.
Okay, good.
But yeah, I can ask Jim about the town Zoom.
And if
That
not,
was-
I do have an account, which
Yeah. Yeah. Lori has an account. I have an account. I'm sure
Okay.
Courtney does too by this
I
point.
do too. We all have accounts.
We should have bought stock in Zoom, for God's sake.
Oh, we should have.
There are aspects of the pandemic where people are making a lot more money than they ever made before.
Right.
So, okay, at 7:00 on the 17th of September,
Okay.
I'll be inviting Sheila Harrington and Paul Teixeira.
Yep.
Any other recommendations for anything or anyone to join us? I will talk to MRPC, meets on the 3rd, but I'll try to talk to Glenn before then. I did want to mention, Karen Chapman works for MRPC, and she's a great grant writer there. She's brought in lots of money that they didn't have before.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm hoping to have a conversation with her in this next week. Not this week that's already gone. I can't believe where the days go, but in this next coming week. And see if she can lend any help, maybe.
Yeah. I'm not really sure, only because of the future work or the past work that she's done with us. I don't think she can do anything with us because I had asked her before. But it doesn't hurt to ask, because I know if we do anything with MRPC, she can't be on the project.
Right. I understand that.
Yeah.
Maybe I was just, I'll talk to her about what advice she might have.
Yeah.
From now on. So, if there is no other business to come before us,
I make a motion, we adjourn. I'm sorry, Lori.
at 8:01, is there a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, all those in favor say aye, and we have to do it by roll.
Now the call, yes.
Courtney Wright, aye.
I didn't see which. Hartley's trying to show us something. I didn't see it.
What you got, Hartley?
Turn it around.
I can't see it.
It's backwards.
It's backwards. I can't read it.
There you go.
Oh, yes. Yeah, the
Yes.
17th. Yes.
Thursday, the 17th.
Yeah.
Yes, at 7:00. Next
Yep.
meeting.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
7:00. Yep.
Give him a high five. Yes.
Thank you, Hartley.
Thanks, Hartley.
Okay, everyone.
Have a good one.
All right. Thanks, everyone.
Be safe.
All right, you too. Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye-bye.